Morning, we're going to kick it off with Stewart Hardy from All In Sports. He's going to give us a quick 30-minute devotional. Then we're going to go straight into Logan Simmons from Little River Academy, speaking after him. And so if you have any questions, comments, concern this morning, do not hesitate to let me know. We want to make sure this is a great experience. Guys, we built this clinic for y'all, so just let us know how we can best serve y'all. Stewart Hardy.
All right, thanks. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I don't know why y'all came early, because you got to listen to me. And it won't be 30 minutes, I don't think. Is this on? Okay. So, again, my name is Stewart. I know a lot of people in here, most everybody. I may not have met in person, but we've met social media. The organization I'm a part of, we do a lot of work with coaches and athletes from a faith perspective, kind of walk through that journey with them. We've done a podcast for 6 or so years. It's kind of slowed down lately. We've put out a couple devotionals recently that everybody here should get one. 30 scriptures for the coach and 30 scriptures for the coach's wives. We have a Proverbs one too that we did, was birthed through COVID. These are written by your colleagues from a coach's perspective, and then wives wrote same scriptures from a wife's perspective. So that's just a resource for y'all. I got involved with this because I know some of the guys that are organizing this, and they actually just asked me if I knew of a place in Dallas to host it. And I said, if you don't mind having it at a church, this is where my family goes to church. So that's why we're here. And so he asked me just to kick it off with a quick devotional. On the screen's a QR code. It just takes you to our website. You can find out just more about who we are. But just from what I was thinking about, and this is probably something that everybody hears a lot about, right? But I was thinking about, of all the coaches and athletes, mostly coaches I've interviewed in the last 6 years, what's the one or two things they always talk about in the podcast? And one word that just kept coming up in my mind as I was looking through some of the notes of guys I've interviewed, and it's from small high school assistant coaches all the way up to Tony Dungy. And the one word is identity. Is the one, and I think that's a trap in coaching, right? Because everybody, no matter what your profession, you do get rated on success, sales, whatever it is. But in coaching, wins and losses. And very few professions do you have people in the stands telling you how to do your job. I mean, I'm not a coach, so I don't have people every day telling me how to do my job that don't know anything about my job. You guys live it every day. So to me, identity can be a trap because your job depends on how many yards you gain in a game, how many points you put up, how many wins at the end of the season. That's your job. And so you can get caught in this trap of maybe compromising some of your core principles because I've got to feed my family, right? So what I was thinking through this week was just some encouragement on winning on the field is great. It's not bad, right? But don't do it to the expense that you lose at home or you lose off the field. You lose in the coach's office, right? You could lose in the locker room just because you want to win. So, I know most of the guys that you're going to hear from today, I've interacted with, I've talked to, and I can tell you this with 100% confidence and not blowing smoke. These guys you're going to hear from today are great men that happen to be good football coaches. Okay? And that's what I want to remind everybody here, that coaching football is just what you do. Right? You love it, it's your passion, but that is not who you are. And when we let that become who we are, that is a bad road to go down, because then that's when we lose at home. So I was thinking of a couple verses. One reminded me, as a kid, I grew up in a family that had always had at least one boat, if not two. We're always on the river, in the ocean, in the Gulf, in a bay, whatever. And as a kid, I remember when standing on the side of the boat, fishing, annoying the crap out of my dad probably, and looking over, and I look at the water, and it's like a mirror. I can see myself, right? And so in the book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 19, it says, as in water reflects the face of the heart of man, so the heart reflects the man. So I was thinking about that in terms of you guys and identity. And so what you say and what you do, that's who you are, because that's what's in your heart. So just like I'm looking down at the water on a sunny, clear day and I'm seeing myself, when people hear you, when they watch you, that's who you are. And that's coming from your heart. And so I just want to encourage you in that. Don't get caught up in those wins and losses and points and yards too much that becomes who you are, because, again, you don't want to lose off the field. Another verse that one of the things I ask on the podcast and I'm interviewing people is, do you have a favorite? Some people have a life verse, right? Do you have a favorite verse, or is there one that God has shown you recently? And I was interviewing over COVID, and it just happened over a silly comment on Twitter, actually. But we got to interview Tony Dungy, and I asked him that question, and he said, and that's the guy that's won. He's been at the top. His response was his favorite verse, Matthew 16:26. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? And I thought about that in the realm of coaching. You can gain everything, but if you do it the wrong way, you'll lose your soul. You'll have no peace. You'll have nothing. Is it worth it? I would say it's not. It may be. I mean, to some, it may be, it keeps you employed, or, you may get a ring, or you may get a raise, or you may set some records, but is all that worth you? So how do we avoid that? So I think each one of us needs to think about, when we think about who we are, you can have some guardrails in place. And for me, I think that comes into just having some core values. We all, like, in the locker room or on Twitter or in the field house, we like these catchy phrases. We like, we come up with the one word for the year, or, every organization, whether it's athletics or not, you got to have some core values. And so, this is cheesy, but 5 core values I'm going to mention to you. If you put them in the right order, it does spell all in. It's just kind of how we do things, right? So the first one I want to mention to you, it kind of help keep you grounded in identity, is accountability. I mean, these are no earth-shattering words. Everybody's heard these words, but what we mean by accountability is that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. So if I say I'm going to do things the right way, then I am. And I need people in my life that are going to hold me to that. I need to own my actions. Are my words valuable to my staff? Are my words valuable to my family? Are my words valuable to my team? The second one, leadership. Do I set an example? I may say we're going to do things this way. I may say I'm going to do the right things. I may say I'm going to hold my coaches accountable. I may say I'm going to hold my players accountable, but do I do it? A lot of times we say the right things, but we don't always follow through. So another thing in leadership I think of, and you don't have to be a head coach to think about the word leadership. Everybody's a lead. Lead where you are, right? And so I think about one last thing on leadership is, you're going to face adversity. The game is going to fail you. It's probably failed everybody in here once or twice. The game of football will fail you. So who are you when you face adversity? Love is the third one. I heard John Gordon speak, one of my favorite authors, and he's traveled around and talked to, you name it, organization. He's talked to them, and he was talking about when he went and talked to Clemson and Dabo Swinney, and Dabo was probably one of the first coaches. The one word for the year in coaching. Most football coaches don't think of the word love because it doesn't sound tough. But Dabo, one of his first years at Clemson, the word he chose for his team was love. And I think you could look at that culture and see it's brought a lot of success. And I think a lot of it is, are we creating an environment? Am I creating an environment where people feel loved? Or is it all about me? So I think that's another guardrail you can put in place, or core principle for you as a person, you as a coach, that can help you guard against identity. Integrity. I don't really have to explain that one, but that's the slippery slope, I think, for all of us. We do the right thing at all the times. When you're the last one in the coach's office, what are your actions? Are you doing the right thing when nobody's looking, or are you only doing the right thing when everybody's looking? That's the one, especially your fellow coaches and your athletes are watching, right? Again, you're saying the right things, but you're not always doing it. The last one for N, nourishment. You may be thinking, why that word? But is my heart is it fertile ground? Am I open to growth? Am I open to other people, allowing people in and speaking into me and encouraging me? Because that proverb says, just like water reflects the face, so my heart reflects who I am. So is my heart fertile? Is it fertile ground, or is it hard? Is it rotten? Is it selfish? Is it prideful? Is it arrogant? Because if that's what your heart is, it obviously we all know that's not fertile ground for success. It's not fertile ground for people around you feeling loved. It's not fertile ground for doing things the right way. And then am I fostering an environment as a coach at home and in the locker room, in the field house? Am I fostering an environment that is nourishing? Is my locker room fertile ground for growth? So those are the things I was thinking about this week, because I didn't have a clue really. I was thinking about what do I share with a bunch of guys who came to a place that all they want to talk about is how to score points and put up yards. And so I was thinking about just that caution of, as you're in the summer and preparing for next year, that caution of don't let this become who you are. And don't take that in. I want to make sure that comes out the right way. I don't want you to think I'm putting down always being about football, right? Being here is a great thing. Learning, helping sharpen your craft is not a bad thing. Just don't let this become who you are, okay? So they asked me to say a quick prayer, and then I'm going to get Logan. We'll have a minute to transition because they got to get a different computer up here. And then Logan Simmons from Academy, the Bumblebees, is going to come talk to you. So God, thank you for just time to pause. Thank you for that you're a God that loves us. Just thank you for each person here. And I just pray that as we listen to coaches talk, as we talk to one another, we gain knowledge on how to be better coaches, how to run our offense better, or open to new ideas, that we would just remember that that's just what we do. That's not who we are. That you would just protect our hearts, that we don't get so consumed by it that we lose sight of who we really are and who you've really created us to be. God, we just ask you to be with today, and the guys that are still traveling here, get them here safely, and the few we know that couldn't make it because they're sick, just be with them, and that they recover quickly. God, we love you and just thank you that we have this time today. I'll just pray in your name. Amen. Quick story about Logan. They didn't ask me to introduce him, but I will. When I started doing the podcast, Logan was one of probably the first 10 guys I talked to. We'd never met except on Twitter. And I tell people all the time when they ask about the podcast, I say, you know what? It's kind of like multi-level marketing. And they're like, what? I'm like, so I interviewed this guy, Logan. I didn't have a clue who he was. And as soon as it was over, he texted me, hey, call these 10 guys and talk to them. And then those guys would say, hey, call these 5 guys. So Logan's like at the top of the pyramid in our organization. So anyway, that's how Logan means a lot to me as a friend. He's an encourager to me. So y'all give Logan some attention. I think he's going to come talk about his bumblebees now.